All right, I'm behind the wheel. Let's see how good this brand new Ioniq 5N is. And let me talk about how it compares to its biggest competitor, the Model Y Performance. So first, starting with the outside, this Ioniq 5N is going to draw a lot of attention, especially this one. This one I'm driving is the Soultronic orange. It's a really bright orange. So during my drives so far, I've had a lot of people look over this way. Whether you want the attention, you're going to get it with the N version Ioniq 5. Now, the Ioniq 5 itself has a polarizing look already. It's a futuristic yet retro theme that's combined. So it has a unique look. And this N edition makes it even more polarizing, to say the least. The front bumper is definitely a lot more sporty. The contrast on this exterior is definitely more eye-catching. The tires are bigger, the fenders are more flared out, you have a bigger spoiler. I mean, overall, I gotta say, I like the look. I do think this is overall a good look. It's like a hot hatch look. It does not look like an SUV. It's a low-riding hot hatch. That's what it looks like. But it is definitely bigger than most hot hatches. Inside is quite big, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But how does it compare to its competitors, like the Model Y Performance? I would say Model Y Performance is definitely a lot more subtle. You almost can't tell the difference between a performance model and a normal Model Y. This, you could definitely tell there's a difference between the N and a non-N version, right? So I do like the look, but again, it depends on your taste, and it's definitely different, way different than all the other EVs in this class. Now, does the drive match the looks? And so far, I gotta say yes, for many, many reasons. There are 3 different modes, okay, to this Ioniq 5N. You have the Eco, which is a mode that you never want to be in. You have normal, and then you have the sport mode. And I've been driving around in just a normal mode, and you know what? It's actually quite impressive. I like the drive. I like the drive a lot. The suspension is firm yet supportive. You don't get a lot of rattles or body rolls for that matter. It's just a really comfortable ride. The suspension is beautiful. Also, visibility, quite nice, even though I said this is kind of like more like a hot hatch, but visibility inside, front windshield's nice and big, windows nice and big, blind spot is good, even rear visibility is good. And you're sitting somewhat high up, not a little, I would say a little bit higher than sedan, but shorter than SUVs, but still a little bit of commanding view from the driver's seat. Also, I gotta say, Hyundai did a really good job with the steering, even though I know this steering is artificial, meaning that the weight behind it is artificial, but it feels good. It's a good artificial weight. I know that it should be an oxymoron, but compared to, say, something like a Model Y, this steering blows it away. It's super, super precise. There is no steering play whatsoever. Just a centimeter off from the center, you're gonna feel it. You know, you're gonna feel it on the road. It is super precise, and there's a good weight to it. Even though it's artificial, it makes you feel like you're driving a sports-oriented car. Not only that, the steering wheel itself is fantastic. A little busy. Yes, it does look a little busy. There are a lot of buttons. There's 2 N buttons, and then there's another orange N button, and then there's a drive mode button, and then you have all your usual buttons to control your gauge cluster and your volume and all that stuff. So it's very busy, but I love the feel of it. This leather is on point, and it has the right thickness. You know, there are some cars that have a leather steering wheel, but it just feels blah. This feels fantastic. This steering wheel feel and the steering feel itself blows the Model Y Performance out of the water. It's not even close. And combined with this very firm yet supportive suspension. Love it. Love the way this feels on the road. And on top of that, these seats, these beautiful looking seats, sports oriented, of course. You have the N that lights up, especially at night you'll see it, but in the morning you're not gonna see it. But these sporty seats are also very comfortable. They're supportive, but just wide enough so the bolsters are not like too like digging into your back or thighs, and they feel good. So again, Hyundai did an excellent job on the seats up front, and the seats in the rear, not as supportive, but still comfortable. And more importantly, there's plenty of leg room. There's plenty of leg room. So this being like a daily driver or family oriented car, yes, yes, and yes, right? So the whole package is just awesome. I love the drive. And I'll get to the 0-60 in a little bit, and I'm gonna test it out. But I have tested it already, and it's pretty amazing. It's mind-boggling, really. If you haven't experienced a fast EV car yet, you're going to be in for a treat. I'll get to that in a little bit. Now, as for the interior, I do like it. Besides the very busy steering wheel that I mentioned, you have two large 12-inch screens. One is your digital gauge cluster, and one is your infotainment system. And I like it. I mean, Hyundai did a really good job. Hyundai has been excellent with their cabin electronics for quite some time in terms of the features that you get and the ease of use and the graphical interface, all top notch. I really like it. Everything's super bright, very easy to use. Everything is touchscreen and very fast and very responsive, because this is the N version. You have an N mode that you could click into, and there's like a very cool graphics, and you have all these features that show you your, how much you have your pedal pushed down, your brake pedal, your torque distribution, and you have cool modes in here like a drift mode. Yes, well, it's an optimizer, but yes, with the all-wheel drive dual motor car, you can still drift, and I'll help you do that. So there are many things, and also of course your lap timer and stuff like that. If you are going to actually go on laps, you want to know your times, right? So Hyundai, they're really good at giving you all the electronic goodies that one would ask for. Like, for example, also when you're getting out of a parking spot, right? You have a 3D view of your car. It looks fantastic. When you're making lane changes, you get to see your blind spot right in your gauge cluster. That's pretty unique. You don't see a lot of cars outside of Hyundai doing that. Underneath, you have this large center console area for your wireless charger, and also you have just a whole bunch of space for your like cup holders and stuff like that. You get it all. Now, a couple complaints. One is this does come with a heated steering wheel, heated and ventilated seats. However, there's no quick button to press, right? Most cars, if you want to turn on your heated or ventilated seats, there's like a quick button. No, there's a button in your like center console that you have to press, then it pulls up on the screen, and then you have to press it, so it's inconvenient and also takes your eye away. Like, it took me a while to figure that out. And a bigger complaint that I have is the fact that this car does not have power seats. So yes, to recline, to move forward and backwards, all manual. I have no idea why. Maybe Hyundai will say they did this on purpose to save weight. But for the price range and for this class, you really need to have power seats. I don't care what they say. I don't care how much weight it's going to add. You need to add them. So that's the biggest complaint on inside. But outside of that, I think the dash is designed, the center console is designed. I think this all fits really, really nicely. But the funny thing is, right, there's an orange theme to this N. On the outside, the inside, but the stitching is blue. Why is the stitching not in orange? That would complete the inside, but you don't see any orange on the inside besides the steering wheel button. That's it. It's weird. I actually don't know why the stitching's not in orange. It should be orange. Everything about this N is orange. I forgot to mention the brake calipers also are in orange. They look nice. You get 21-inch wheels on the outside with meaty 275 tires, and you can see those brake calipers really clearly. However, no orange on the inside besides this button. Yeah, that's it. There's no other orange. Don't know why. One other complaint about the interior is this stalk for the drive, reverse, parking. You know, in a modern car, normally you have a knob or something, some kind of button setup, right? But Hyundai decided to make it a stalk, right? And it's hidden, tucked away behind the steering wheel, which makes it hard to see and engage. So I'm not a fan of that location. I think just putting the buttons on the dash somewhere would be much better, but unfortunately they didn't do that. So that's also another complaint. I mean, the steering wheel is already stacked with a lot of buttons, and then you have to like hunt for that stalk behind it, which is already blocked. I'm just not a fan. Just not a fan. All right, let's test out 0 to 60. This is gonna be fun. Whoa! Yeah, that was quick, and I didn't even press the N mode button. If you did that, you get 40 more horsepower. Okay, now on paper, 0 to 60, this is supposed to be 3.2 seconds, but if you do testing, it's more closer to 3 seconds. So this is fast, very, very fast. Again, if you compare it to, say, the Model Y Performance, I believe this is faster, 0 to 60. I mean, at this point, it's so fast, it's just like, there's no point to even nitpick about 0.1, 0.2 seconds, because the torque kicks in right away and you're getting pushed back in your seat. And the beauty of this is you're getting all-wheel drive because there's dual motors, so it's great in bad weather conditions. And also because it's a pure EV, you don't have to worry about wasting gas. Speaking of that N button, there's a couple N buttons. There's so many buttons, okay? Quite honestly, one of them is just to engage custom mode. One of them is to give you that power boost, okay? So if you press the orange one, in the dash, you'll see a counter, 10, 9, 8, 7, right? So basically, you get that power boost, that 40 extra power for only 10 seconds. Can they make it longer than 10 seconds? Yes. I don't know why Hyundai didn't just make it permanent. I don't know why. And there's also another N button, which is giving you like the sportiest mode. So I'm gonna enable that right now. And the reason being, once you're in that mode, right, somehow now, can you hear that? Oh my God. Can you hear that? So if you're in the most aggressive mode, so not only do you get shifts, but you also get this simulated kind of like V6 sound. It doesn't sound like a V8, it sounds more like a V6. And the car is transformed to more like a sports car with a manual transmission, right? Or a dual clutch transmission, because it does have paddle shifters and you can shift, but the car will act like it's shifting. It has a red line. You can make it stay and just peg the red line if you wanted to. And it also downshifts too when you come into a stop. It's really unique. I don't know if this is actually going to work with most enthusiasts, right? You can't fake a 6-speed manual car. You just can't. But this is trying very hard, and maybe the younger crowd will like it. So not only you get the fake exhaust, but also you get simulated shifts. And you can use the paddle shifters too. Maybe it'll work. So at the beginning, I did say that the biggest competitor to this Ioniq 5N is, of course, the Model Y Performance. And so far, there are many things about this Ioniq 5N that are better. I would argue the drive is better. I like the steering better. I like the steering wheel better. I like the suspension better. I do think it looks better on the outside too. And these crazy modes, okay, also make it better. The screens are better. I can't stand the Model Y with its screen in the middle where it distracts you from your drive. And also the technology is better. You get a 360 view in here. You don't get that with the Model Y. You get blind spot monitoring, you know, that actually show up in your mirrors. You don't get that in the Model Y, right? So I do think there are many things about this that are better, okay? A lot of features that are better than Model Y. But are there things the Model Y performance excels at versus this Ioniq 5N? Yes, of course. I showed my friend this car the other day, and the first thing he asked is, well, is there a frunk in the front? Right? I don't know how many people that actually use the frunk, but I guess he does. And with this Ioniq 5N, it doesn't exist. You open up the front hood, there is no frunk space. Okay, so that Model Y wins. If you go in the trunk, the Model Y does have a bigger trunk in the back too. It definitely looks much bigger. Even though the trunk in here is not bad, and you have a hatch, so you could actually fit more than, say, a sedan's trunk, but it's not as big, and there's no hidden trunk underneath. Okay, there's a little space for your charging cables, and that's it. Not a big trunk like a Model Y. Again, Model Y wins. So if you're looking for maximum storage, okay, Model Y will win every single time. So there's that. Also, what about range? Well, this one, even with this large battery, it's an 85 kilowatt hour battery, it can only go 220 miles per charge, okay, which is around average. And people that have tested, I've seen like Car and Drive and others test it, real world, they're getting about 190. So that really pales compared to Tesla, which is like 100 miles more per range, right? And of course, the infrastructure, the supercharger network is way bigger with the Tesla, although now some manufacturers are able to use a Tesla supercharger station, but still, when you're talking about range and the network, Tesla definitely wins by a mile. It's not even close. And lastly, what the Tesla Model Y performance wins at is the price. And there's a big gap. This one that I'm testing is coming in around $67,000 all in. Okay, there's no trim levels. There are basically no options whatsoever. You're just picking out a color. Around $67,000, which is not cheap. Now, Tesla have been making a lot of price cuts over the last year. The Model Y performance was getting up there, but now, if you're getting a base Model Y performance without the extra stuff, without full self-driving, you're talking about only $51,000. So there's a gap of over $10,000. In fact, a gap of $15,000. Even if you add the full self-driving to a Tesla Model Y performance, it's $8,000 currently. You're talking about $60,000 to $67,000. You're still talking about over a $5,000 gap. So Teslas have become much cheaper over the last year, while its competitors like this Ioniq 5N has not gotten any cheaper over the last year. So you have to decide that as well, right? Do you want to get a Model Y performance with better range, a better supercharger network, and more cargo space, and it being significantly cheaper versus, say, this Ioniq 5N, right? And all the great things I've mentioned already. So you have to decide if it's worth it to you.